There we go. Hi, Peter Charles here, Hooked to Life Fly Fishing, and this video on Euro nymphing for smallies will wrap up this series. And I'm going to be dealing with a problem that I found when I was out smallie fishing with a Euro nymphing rig. Now, normally if we're fishing for trout, as we're seeing here in this image, the nymphs are practically underneath the rod tip. We can do that because the fish are in shallow water and, they can't see us all that well. I'll just stop it for that moment. You've heard of the snail's window. Well, the deeper a fish is in the water, the more it can see, the wider it can see. And if the water is clear and relatively deep, then we end up with some problems with the fish being able to see us if we stand on top of them, especially if the water is very slow moving. We also have problems where we want to cover a wide feature. So let's see what I had to do here. Here I'm casting on a wide feature. I'm having to cast a lot of line. My leader's not all that long. My fly line is out of the guides, and watch what happens. This is a mess. And this didn't happen on every cast, but it happened on a few. Look at that disaster. And the flies are kicking around all over the place. They don't go straight. It was just a mess. And so I decided that if I was going to cover a lot of water, or in this case, look at that. I mean, most of this river, I'm in this much water. It's ankle deep, and it's clear. There's a few deeper holes, and apart from those deeper holes, everything else was real skinny. I could not get close to those fish at all. If I got on top of the hole to try to fish them in classic Euro nymphing style, not a chance. I mean, I would have just spooked them all. They would have seen me, and and my wading would have disturbed them. The river was so low and moving so slowly that there's no chance for using any cover from any turbulence. So here I am just casting out, and I'm casting about 30 feet roughly. So I'm covering a lot of line, and bang, I'm into a fish. And you'll notice I was doing a little bit of stripping. It's so slow, and I'm going so far that I have to recover line as the flies come towards me because I'm casting upstream. So you're recovering line, you're keeping the line tight to the fly because there's a chance you'll miss a fish otherwise. So I can't lead them the way I normally would do if you're fishing, a trout stream and you've got a bit of current. So here's another one that I picked up. I ended up with 5 fish hooked up overall in this. I've just put 3 in here. But it's the same thing. Again, fishing the same hole just a little further upstream. You see how smooth that water is. I mean, you can't get close to the fish. You could see the bottom of the deep holes. Well, if you can see the bottom of the deep holes, the fish can see you. I had to stand well back, and the secret to that was having a very long leader so that fly line never left the reel. And if you can see in these pictures, I've got, there it is, example right there. There's no fly line coming out of the guides. I'm working with just stripping the leader. The leader's about 35 foot long, and that's what I used. It kept me in business. I could cast straight, the line laid out dead straight. One of the fish I hooked, literally the flies hit the water, the fish hit the fly. If I had not been tight to the leader at that moment, probably would have missed that fish. So those are the scenarios I came up with. There was the typical trout scenario where you're fishing almost on top of them. That doesn't happen as much if you're fishing bigger features. And if you have fly line out of the guides, it's a mess. So you're better to run with a long leader, cast upwards of 30 feet if you've got the right flies, and I've covered that earlier. And, you can catch smallmouth in really skinny conditions where you're fishing a deep hole, but you can't get close to it. And it's a slow-moving hole, so you can't do the normal lead that you would when you're typically Euro nymphing. So keep that in mind. If you're in that situation where you have to cover a big feature or you can't get close to the fish, then use that long leader, and it does work. And with the heavy flies that we're using for smallmouth, no problem casting it upwards of 30 feet. So give that a try. Cheers.